Hello everyone, this is Hot Seats. My name is Sunil Olaniro and I'm glad to be in your face again because this is a special Eid Kabir edition and I'm bringing to you somebody that is of a high class, let me use that word, in the city of Abeokuta and beyond. He is a notable personality. His name is Alhaji Chief M.A. Ola Yusuf. He is my guest on this week's edition of Hot Seats. Alhaji, welcome to Hot Seats, sir.
Yes, pleased to meet you.
Yes, sir. Before I set the ball rolling, let's check through the profile of my guest, Alhaji Chief M.A. Ola Yusuf. Education is the old boy of Baptist Boys High School, Abeokuta, from 1951 to 1956 set. Professionally, a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, England and Wales, a fellow of Certified and Corporate Accounts, UK, a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Accountants, and former managing director, John Holt's Venture Nigeria, an industrialist and director of Wemco Group of Company, a former chairman, Industrialization Committee of Ogun State, a business tycoon, and former group executive director, John Holt's PLC, a conglomerate, the managing director, M.A. Ola Yusuf and Co. Chartered Accountants, an educationist and proprietor of Peace Foundation International Group of Schools and Colleges, the institution with a touch of excellence. Titles: he is the Sarumi of Egbaland, Sultan of Owu Muslim, and Baba Din Tijaniya Organization of Nigeria. You know that I have with me somebody that you want to learn from. It's a special Eid Kabir edition, like I said earlier on, so we are going to be talking about Eid Kabir. First of all, sir, let me ask, why do Muslims celebrate Eid?
It has spiritual valor. It was ordained by God. Anabi Ibrahim, who was the prophet of God, recognized both by Muslim, Christians, and almost all religions. God ordered him in a dream to sacrifice his first son for him, and he obeyed the God divine instruction. But at the time when he was to slaughter Ishmael, that is the son of Ibrahim, all what God wanted him to show was faith. And God said, no, don't do it. And God ordered one of the angels to substitute a ram instead of killing his first son. And the period for this period is the last month of Islamic calendar. And this is the month when people went to Mecca and Medina in accordance with instructions and directives from Holy Quran. And what do we do there? We perform all the rites of Hajj as ordained by Holy Quran. And there are many lessons to learn from this episode, this spiritual episode. God ordered. You can say, put yourself in the position. If God ordered you to kill your son, what will you do? You have to have strong faith to do what Abraham has done. And that's why Allah described him as one of the most devout and pious human beings on earth. For Muslims, you see, slaughtering of ram is not the thing, really. You can slaughter cows, you can slaughter camel. That's not what God wants you to do. What God wants us to do as Muslims is to learn from that historical and religious episode. Abraham obeyed the instructions from Allah, from God, and his son also obeyed. When it was time to kill Ishmael, and Abraham showed him the sword, and Abraham said, yes, if what God wants you to do, Go ahead. I have no objections. How many children of today obey religiously or spiritually or in any ways the instruction from their dad? You see, God substituted ram, but a lot of people to do it today now regarded the killing of ram as if it's the major thing. No, it is your faith in God, your obedience to pious instructions as ordained in the Holy Quran, as ordained in the hadiths of Holy Prophet Muhammad, as described in the writings of many Afars, so that we can live in this world a pious life. And what's the obedience? For obeying the rule of God or the instruction from God. Allah then promised Ibrahim and all the followers Al-Jannah, that is paradise. We Muslims believe in the life after death. We believe that this world in which is a temporary world, is a world that is full of grief, disharmony, disunity, bloodshed. That has been foreseen in the Holy Quran. Because when God wanted to sell Adam to world, Iblis, the Shaitan, said, look, these people, if you send them, they will just be killing themselves. And that is what is happening today. Muslims believe that the life after death is the most thing that is desirable. And whatever you can do to achieve that is the best you can do, because this world is temporary. Whether you are rich or poor, you will die. Whether you are rich or king or president, there is no rest in this world. But in the world after death, we believe that there will be peace, there will be harmony, there will be love, there will be everything. You don't need to pray 5 times a day. You don't need to fast. Everything is harmony and concord and with peace with God.
All right. Still talking about the Eid Kabir festival. We discovered that first of all, I want to ask, what kind of animal or animals can be slaughtered for that celebration?
No, you have to slaughter rams or animals that are in good condition. You see, you can't slaughter the one that is blind or crippled or have disease. No. You can slaughter cow if you like. You can slaughter camels. But you see, whatever you do, it has to be within your reach. Because Allah teaches us in the Holy Quran, He said, He does not like wasteful spenders. He said, those who spend their money wastefully, they are the followers of Shaitan, Iblis. That's what God told us. So it is not acceptable for you who can afford a ram to want to slaughter a cow. It's not right for you, even if you cannot slaughter anything, to force yourself or to go and borrow money to buy any of these animals. No. It is taboo. You have to cut your coat according to your size.
So it's not compulsory to slaughter every year if you can't afford.
If you cannot afford it, Allah in the Holy Quran teaches us, and that's the word of God. He said He will not give you a burden too heavy for you to carry. Allah told us in the Holy Quran, I will not give you a burden too heavy for you to carry. When you cannot pay the school fees of your children, I now go and borrow money to slaughter ram, that is not right. Because Allah wants you to educate your children so they can become patriots, they can become devout Muslims, so that they can live a very useful life. But you slaughter a lamb, you kill it today, you eat it today, finish. And you cannot afford it. But if you can afford it, it is compulsory. It is important, and you have to buy and kill.
Right. After killing the animals, who are those that, according to the Quran, should benefit from it, should eat out of it?
Yes, again, depends on your purse. Some Muslims, successful Muslims, killed more than one ram or cow or whatever, because they slaughter one for the family, their family that they slaughter one to distribute to the poor and less privileged member of society. So again, it depends on what you can afford, but you must take care of yourself first before you can take care of others. Religiously, you are expected to give something to less privileged, to the poor, those who cannot afford it, because you have to be your brother's keeper and your neighbors too. That is what I think is right to do. That is what Allah wants us to do.
I want to ask, you don't kill the animal, your animal, before you go to eat. It's
Yes.
only when you. Why is this so? Is it according to the Quran?
Because, yes, this is according to Quran. As I said earlier, Allah wanted Ibrahim to kill his son. That, like any human being, when Ibrahim was taking his son to the place to slaughter him, he was grieved. He was not happy. He was not joyous. But when Allah then substituted the ram for him to slaughter, then after that is where he was going there, it was just like Idi. That place that we go outside the town or in the town or wherever we pray, that is more or less our Idi. And there in Yidi, you see the Imam will be the first one to slaughter the ram, and we show the sword or the knife for everybody to see. You are not expected to slaughter your own ram until after that prayer, until after that that trial of Holy Prophet Ibrahim, because it was a trial. It was not a place for joy. But when Allah gave him the peace of mind, substituted ram for his son, then he became happy and joyous, and he went home joyous and happy. And so you do not slaughter your thing until Imam in the Yidi slaughter his own first.
Okay, I want us to look at the broader perspective of this Eid al-Kabir festival. We always observe it year in year, every year in Nigeria, and I want to ask, what to the leaders and to the followers in this country, what lesson is derivable from this?
Yes. You see, that is a relevant question. When you look at the situation in which we are today, the first thing, the lesson first of all, is that we all have to obey God. In this country, we have to be nearer to God. Whether you're a Muslim or Christians or other faiths, we all believe in Creator. We believe somebody created us, and we believe there are guidelines, there are instructions, there are orders from this Creator, from God. If we obey that orders, our country will be better off. It's a lesson that all Nigerians must learn, all Africans must learn, all the world community must learn from this important religious lesson, that Abraham obeyed the order of his creator, God, and thereafter God gave him peace. If we Nigerians obeyed the order of God as ordained, especially in the Holy Quran, there will be no poverty, there will be no fraud, there will be no corruption, there will be no kidnapping, there will be no all these type of vices we have having today. There will be none of that if you obey the ordeal of God, you obey the orders of God as inscribed in the Holy Quran, as also in the Bible and some other religious books. There is nowhere in the Quran or in the nowhere in most of the religious books I've read, and I've read a lot, where you have to keep your fellow human being who has not offended you just because of religion. In the Holy Quran, Allah said there is no compulsion in religion. No compulsion in religion. You do your own faith, I do my own. Holy Prophet, when he went from Mecca and he traveled to Medina, and in Medina there are Christians, there are Jews, he lived harmony with them. Even there are religious books we say even married a Jew. So if Holy Prophet can work in harmony, he can work with other Christians and other faiths. Why can we not do that in Nigeria or anywhere for that matter? All people must work together, obey their God as ordained, the Holy Quran or Bible or any other religious book, so that we can have peace and harmony in this country, and we can have justice as well. Because what Allah wants us to do is to do justice to our fellow human being. If you are a leader, you have to have fear of God. You have to realize that you are going to be answerable one day or the other. If you are a follower, you also have to follow the injunctions and the order of God as ordained, the Holy Quran and some other religious books. So that if you do that, that is the biggest lesson you can learn. It's not the slaughter of ram. Allah wants us to learn something from that episode. Allah does not eat meat. He does not drink blood. All he wanted us to do, and he still wants us to do it, is to learn from that important episode that Abraham Allah ordered him to kill his son. What does Allah wants to do with his son? But now, alright, stop. You've obeyed me. Now continue to have peace. If you obey God, Nigeria will be better off.
Alright, I want to still on the national perspective. I want us to look at the fact that almost every street and almost every corner, if you look at in this country, there is either a mosque or a church. Almost every of our leaders are either Muslims or Christians. Yet, a former British Prime Minister called Nigeria a fantastically corrupt country in the world. Is this not ironical? Does it mean that the imams and the alfas and the pastors are not teaching the correct message?
You see, we are living in the most imperfect world. In a perfect world, you are expected to be your brother's keeper. And if you are a brother's keeper, you will never do anything in any way or form to hurt your brother or your neighbors. It's not just the British Prime Minister that said that. I have a friend, he's an Italian. He came to Nigeria and visited me here in Abeokuta. And his comment, he said he has been to Abuja, he has been to this, he has been to that in Nigeria. He said, yes, Italians are regarded as the most corrupt people in Europe. He said, but Nigerians have bastardized corruption. So it's not only Prime Minister. The truth is, there is enormous corruption in Nigeria. And until we, from the leaders and the followers and everybody goes nearer to God, that the more we go nearer to God, the more our propensity to accumulate wealth will be diminished. As I said earlier, you don't bring anything to this world. And that's my personal philosophy. You are not going to take anything back. When you die, you'll be buried naked. When Allah raises you up from death, you'll be naked. There'll be no clothes, there'll be nothing on you. And this world, whether you have money or you don't have money, there's no peace. You will continue struggling from the time you are born till the time you get educated and you work and you die. It's a world of struggle. It's a world of discomfort. It's a world of disharmony. It's a world of pain. Why is struggling to accumulate money? People accumulated money, and at the end of the day, what do they use it for? You can never sleep more than in one room. You see, that is what Holy Quran teaches us. One of the Sawabas of Holy Prophet Abu Bakr, he prayed to God. He said, "Oh God, stretch this word for me so that I can have the best of things for myself." He said, "But teach me, God, so that I do not regard it to be anything." If you are rich, you have to be humble with your wealth. And you have to touch the lives of many of your neighbors and other people in a positive manner. Here, we have to complement the efforts of government in many ways. Even in Europe, like England, you see that the best schools are privately owned, like Brighton, like Cambridge, like Oxford. It's people who are endowed the money, who put money down to complement the efforts of government in education, and they gave the best education to citizens. When you look at the industries, it is private sector that source the money, and they produce the best products. They produce planes, they produce cars, they produce so many things for the comfort of the people. Of course, they make minimal profit. But here, people want to make money without working. That is the irony. People will come together because they have temporary power. Then they want to share the wealth of the nation among few people. It's ungodly. That's the way I feel.
Okay, but how do you suggest that? Because most governments come in and go out, and all they say is, "We are coming to fight corruption. We are coming to fight corruption." It's more or less like a campaign promise. And if you had to suggest to the government in power on fighting corruption, what suggestion will you give?
That is, yes, suggestions. I've said it earlier. Search your conscience. All leaders, they should search their conscience. And if you're a Muslim or a Christian, ask yourself, am I actually following the injunctions of my Creator? And whether you answer the question or not, you are going to be answerable for whatever you do on this earth. And there's a philosopher who said, "The good that men do live after them." Whatever you do, it will live after you, and you will be answerable for it. In fact, there are many of us who believe once you continue, you invest yourself in corruption, you enrich yourself at the expense of the people, all the things that should care for millions of people, you and your family take it. Your family will suffer. You yourself will suffer even before your death. That is a law of retributive justice. The people that men will live after them. Whatever good you do in this world, God will give you the blessing, and thereafter you also be blessed. And if you do bad as well, God will also give you the necessary reward in this world and thereafter. There is a law of retributive justice. It's a question of time. Àwọn Yorùbá wọ́n ní àṣepamọ́ ló wà, àṣegbé kò sí. Àṣepamọ́ ló wà, but àṣegbé ò sí. For everything that human beings do, you see, we have to. Sometimes I see the country and I weep for the country. I wept internally. Why should we be in this condition? What is it? Nigeria is wealthy. We have enormous resources. But how many farmers now can farm? Because their farms are literally taking over. See, and there is no control. And there is no instrument to make sure this development is stopped. I know the governments are doing their best. Most governments. I've just heard that they are going to get drones now to monitor that is fine. I hope it is effective, but it is something we have to address. Otherwise, there will be a problem in this country, because the farmers cannot go to farm now. What will they do? Will they now resort to crime? The villagers? The educated people, they are not getting enough jobs. They are unemployed, many of them. What will they do? Will crime become their password? Our young ones are without being conscious of it, being ruined. We have to do something positive. My prayer, and the prayer of most of us, which we do religiously, is God will guide all of us, the leaders, the followers, so that we can follow the righteous path, which is the path ordained by God in the Holy Quran and most of religious books. May Allah guide us through. Amen,
amen. Let's still on Idil Kabir. Yes, we know that Abraham obeyed God, and Ishmael too did his own part.
He did.
But what nowadays, I want to go just take it from a parent-children perspective. Now, parenting, what lesson can be learned from this, and what should parents be doing nowadays in terms of leading their children in the right direction?
Yes, without being too emphasizing it, the parents must teach their children, their wards, and those under them on the way of God. They must, whether Muslims or Christians, because you see, my own path is that of median range, because the old prophet teaches us extreme right or extreme left. Those who are on that, they are not one of us. I believe all religions has their merit. Even the pagans has their merit. You will see that those people you call their pagans, if his wife sits on that chair, the other pagan will not sit on it, because he has respect for the wife of another colleague. How many people do that now? That's part of religion. He fears inwardly that he should respect another man's wife. Let's forget that. The question is that what should the parents do to their children? As I've said, the parents must teach their children the way of God. They must also live by example. They must give exemplary and very pious life for their children to emulate. Most importantly, they must educate their children. They must teach them to learn the holy book, the Quran. And what should the children do? The children, of course, like Ishmael did, and he was raised to be prophet because he obeyed his father. Children must obey their parents, especially on things that are pious, on things that are right, on things that can make them live a patriotic Nigerian, and can make them to have the fear of God. If the parents teach you that as a child, you must take that very well. My father and my grandfather, when I was a lot younger, when they wake us, first in the morning, we must go and pray to God, our Creator. They will wake you up. If you don't wake you up, they can even flog you. After prayer, then we sit down, we pray. Then after that, then they talk to us about the reality of life. How many parents have time for that today? You wake up by maybe 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock. You are in a hurry to go for your business. They are not even, some of them don't make contact with their children. It's a retrogressive step. You must have time for your children. You must relate with your children. You must teach them the way of God, so they can become useful to you and useful to Nigeria. And the children must take the counsel, the advice, the education of their parents. so that we can live a happy life. That's the way to happiness, and I can, give evidence to that.
I want to go a little bit personal. When you were very young, how were your parents lenient with you, or were they harsh, or were they disciplinarians? And what lesson can we learn, we parents of nowadays, from,
you see,
from that?
It's my parents, I can say, is what carrot and stick. My parents were very, very good to me. I can't think of having a better parents, my mother and my father, but they are disciplinarian. Where I err, they will not allow me to go ahead on that. Let me give you a classic example. I was a student of Baptist Business School at Abeokuta, and my first year in the school, I was, out of 30, I was in 26th position. 26. So I was the last 4.
The class.
So my mother was an illiterate. My father was educated. So when I went home, my mother then was the one very, very curious. How did you do in school? I said, I did very well, Mom. Because I knew he could not read or write. And when my father came, said, how did you do? I said, it's not too bad, sir. Say, where's your result? Then I gave him the result. 26th position out of 30. All right. 1, you don't go out to go and play. You will continue sitting in that place and continue reading your books throughout the holidays. You are not going with your siblings to Abeokuta, because we are then at Agbado railway station. They give so many instructions. Then when my mother came, I went to see her, thinking my mother will support me. So you see, my father said this, I will not be going to Abeokuta, I will not do this. He said because I took 26th position. He said, what does that mean? I said, well, I didn't do badly. Then my mother went to my father, and my father explained to my mother, and my mother came back. Sit down there, bam. So I was, because you see, that pains me more. It's not that he beat me, seriously, but I expected the support from my mother. But it appeared the two of them agreed on disciplining me. It's not that one side is punishing me, another one is petting me. No. When we come to eat at night, chinko. It's a fried meat. I like that. My mother was a trader. So, and all of the children, they will put tinko. It's nice. And then when they put my own, the way do with amala, no tinko there. I said, Mommy, no, you are not eating tinko. On right on the day. That put me down. So they're not giving meat. There's no tinko in my food. I cannot go and play in front of the house with my friends. I could not go to Abeokuta. They got me a teacher to teach me. And what's the effect of that? The next time, by the time I went back to school, I was fortified academically, and I took the 2nd position in my class. That is what parents should do. Carrot and stick. When it is necessary to punish a child, punish it. Not in the barbaric manner of flogging, because I got that barbaric. But you can discipline a child in many ways. You can ask him to sit down, raise your hands up, do this, which my parents did. You can deny him a few luxuries, which will be more painful, but not flogging. That's barbaric, and it's not acceptable today. But both the mother and father, they must discipline their child with one voice. Not the father discipline or the mother discipline and the father not doing the same thing. It will give wrong signal to the child, and it will not help him in life.
So what effect do you think a family would have effective family, effective parenting will have on the society or the country at large?
They will bring a decent, if the parents train their children well. First of all, they must give their wards or children good education. Education is one of the best instruments to elevate poverty and disease. If you don't educate your child well, that is a trouble. And many wealthy people, they don't educate their children, you know. Holy Prophet, the first instruction Allah gave to Holy Prophets: seek knowledge, seek knowledge, seek knowledge. And Holy Prophet seek knowledge and becomes a world leader. We have to, parents must educate their children, their words in positive way. They must also teach them in the way of God. They must, of course, watch them. So many problems are happening today among youth: drug taking, raping, so many other things. That should be, they should tell their wives and children when they are young the evils of doing such things, and that must be done regularly so that it's drained in their brain. So, and they must also watch when they go to universities or colleges. They must also watch who are their friends. Okay, show me your friends. I will tell you the type of person you are. Bad habit corrupt good manners. If you don't watch the friends of your children, your children may be corrupted, even though you brought them up nicely. So you must be careful who are the friends of your children. As I have said, the fear of God, people say, is the beginning of wisdom. I've always said the fear of God is the beginning and the end of wisdom.
Okay, let's. One thing that happens in this time is people go to Hajj for pilgrimage, especially when now that we are celebrating Eid al-Kabir. And first of all, I want to ask, going to Hajj, I know it's one of the tenets and pillars of Islam.
Yeah.
But is it compulsory, even if you're economically, financially, the person is not buoyant enough to do so?
No, it's one of the 5 pillars of Islam, but it's not compulsory. Unfortunately, you see, either deliberately or for personal reasons, people have tried to misconceive the necessity to go to Hajj. You see, if you are not buoyant and you are not sufficiently wealthy, and you go around trying to solicit for funds to go to Hajj, it's un-Islamic. It's un-Islamic for Muslims to beg, going around to beg. It's un-Islamic. Even in Makkah, you will see there, it is un-Islamic to beg. But a lot of Nigerians will do anything just because they want to go to Hajj. I regard that as an ostentatious living, because it's not compulsory for you to go to Hajj if you cannot afford it. But if you can afford it and you don't go to Hajj, you are not following the 5 pillars of Islam.
Okay. But most of the state governments all across the country gives sponsorship, let me use that word, to those that are going for Hajj. And it has raised some criticism on the fact that some states, even that could not pay salary, would spend a very large chunk of money to sponsor a Hajj pilgrimage. What do you have to say about this?
Is government or individuals has a leadership role to play to enable citizens follow the way of God. The governments who can genuinely sponsor Hajj just to create in their followers or in their citizens fear of God, it's probably a step in the right directions. But you see, there are conditionalities. Allah, as I said earlier, taught us to avoid wasteful spending, because Allah said those who are wasteful spenders, they are Shaitan's followers. If government cannot pay salaries of staff and they continue sponsoring people to Hajj, robbing Peters to pay Paul, I don't think it's right, my personal view. But where government can afford it, it's good to encourage people to follow the way of God, and I think it's correct.
Right, so we are about to round off. I wanted to tell Nigerians what your mind tells them about in this Eid al-Kabir festival. What message do you have for Nigerians personally?
No, the message that I have for Nigerians is to learn the lesson from Ibrahim and Ishmael. The lessons of giving their life to the will of God, for following the instructions of God. If the Nigerians or anybody for that matter can follow the teachings in their religious book, for example, Muslims in the Holy Quran and Christians in the Bible, Nigeria will be a better place, because there's no place in these two religious books, especially in Quran, where you can kill your citizens without any offense. The Quran asks us to do justice and fairness to citizens. Holy Prophet teaches us in the Hadith, because Holy Prophet was also like a president. He was a president in his lifetime, and he did not amass wealth. He did not build houses. He has very few clothes, but he makes sure that his citizens is properly catered for in accordance with instructions of Holy Quran. I think if we follow the lessons of these two pious human beings who are prophets of God, Ibrahim and Ishmael, our country will be a better place.
All right, let's follow the examples of Ibrahim and Ishmael, and Nigeria will be a better place. That's a summary of what we've been saying in the last couple of minutes, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to Alhaji Chief M. Ola Yusuf for coming to us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for giving me the privilege to be here.
I'm really grateful, sir. Next week is another time for another guest on this program. If you want to learn, like I always say, stay tuned next week, and we'll bring you something fantastic to learn from. My name is Tunde Olaniro, and like I always say at the end of this show, God bless Nigeria. Bye bye.